Dai Mubai. What do you ask why Shrek has 9 people, but only 8 monsters? Because Shaoyin is not a human being. Oscar. Do you know what kind of day I'm living? Is it possible for humans to complete hundreds of thousands of grilled sausages? Even a god cannot do it, Tang-san. What do you think, my brother's actions are too inappropriate? Joking, it's like my younger brother has been a human before. Have you seen the old man over there who was kicked out of the house by his wife and kneels before he even enters? That's my dad, an extreme Douluo. Guess why his hair turns white when he's young? Book Friend Group 104-670-4633. Welcome everyone to Find Era to Play. As a full-time professional Huang, Era's character is absolutely guaranteed. Keywords of the novel. Douluo's full-time sharpshooter without pop-ups, Douluo's full-time sharpshooter TXT complete collection download, Douluo's full-time sharpshooter latest chapter reading. Chapter 1. Crossing like Schro Dinger's cat, seeking tickets. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Chapter 1. Crossing like Schro Dinger's cat, seeking tickets, seeking collections, Moyu, with the words in the clouds. The third son in the family. Both parents are national researchers. Because during his time in Huaimoyu, Mo's father became obsessed with the 3 kingdoms and various things related to it, and eventually forced his child to have a surname. There is also an older brother and an older sister above him. Afterwards, because I was a special forces soldier watching TV dramas, my father Mo, who already had a strong sense of patriotism, wanted to take Mou to join the military. In the end, he was disappointed when he boasted to his son while driving that he accidentally threw Mou into the hospital while riding a motorcycle. Because of this, at that time, the Mou family ate 3 months of durian, and the 3 months of durian skin was used to punish Mo's father by kneeling. This kind of thing happens more often. Mou and his brother and sister, who are also suffering a lot, think that they will continue to eat jujube pills with their father. In order to prevent their father from killing 3 supernatural beings, their brothers and sisters all go to different places to develop. And Mou, who has always been a salty fish, has become a fake house because he was amazed by the spectacle of the big shots playing with the original pot and vowed to build his own original pot. Despite 3 days and nights of failure, I couldn't resist falling asleep in the end. Mou fell asleep and dreamed that he appeared on a pedestrian street, looking at the traffic lights above. The story of being trapped in the hospital by my father is vividly remembered. Adhering to the principle of thousands of roads and safety first. Moyu not only did not cross the road ahead of time, but also took a step back. At this moment, a large truck rushed over from the side. It has been proven that obeying traffic rules is very important. Just as Mou was still celebrating his good habits, a mechanical fist hit him directly. WTF. The last scene that Mou saw was when the truck just turned into a Gundam, and he punched him in the position he had just taken. That's the question. Is Mou feeling fatigued and crossing over, or was he hit by a car? Douluo World, one of the novice villages, is located outside Holy Soul Village. 2 teenagers sit on the cliff of the mountain peak facing the sunrise. Accompanied by a burst of purple chi disappearing, one of the boys, who was not particularly outstanding in appearance but was very durable, stretched lazily first. Shaoyin, although our Xiantian Gong has never shown any signs of improvement, it doesn't mean we can be lazy. The plan for the day lies in Yuchen. At this moment, the boy next to Shaoyin was a little spoiled and nagged, while he leaned his 2 fingers together and pointed them on the boy's forehead. San-gu, I feel like you're driving, but I don't have any evidence. The boy named Shaoyin responded helplessly. By now, everyone can also see that Mou, now known as Tang Yin, is the protagonist of this article. The journey is very thorough, twins, Tang San's Doudu. And beside him was Tang San, the son of Douluo Ili's plane. But now Tang San has Tang Yin involved. But it's much better than the original work, at least it doesn't look thin, and its body shape is very healthy. And all of this is the reason for Tang Yin. Although Tang Yin has a mansion, he has a wide range of interests and hobbies. He is interested in everything from popularizing science to surviving in the wilderness. I have watched all kinds of videos. So Tang Yin combined his current planting knowledge to guide the villagers. The first bucket of gold I received from their village chief. Then, based on my own iron-making profession, I directly developed the Quan Li. Simultaneously improving other farmers. Use the small money obtained to raise some livestock. Although their family is still not considered a wealthy person, they still have plenty of meat and are not worried about food and clothing. Brother, anyway, we can't break through now, it's okay. Tang Yin said, pointing his finger at his forehead. Speaking of this, Tang Yin is also quite depressed, after all, since his elder brother saw him provoking the little brat in the village like this. I also started nodding my forehead. The more Tang Yin looks at his own oni sauce, the more he thinks of the strange Itachi god of Uchiha. What? What are you asking about the Itachi god being a different species? Just kidding, do you think only Itachi uses Piauru to wash her hair? This is simply heresy in Uchiha's art style, okay? Wait, I think my older brother and Itachi god are quite similar. They both have strong eyes and use hidden weapons one by one to fly. Now they are all of the younger generation. And their eyes can all advance. Thinking of this, Tang Yin's thoughts have drifted far away. Xiaoyin, why are you looking at me like this? Tang San asked, his back cooling inexplicably. Nothing. Tang Yin couldn't say anything more. He couldn't say he was trying his own brother's eyes to see if he could get a kaleidoscope purple extreme magic pupil or something. Okay, I won't force you about Xiantian Gong anymore, but you can't let go of other martial arts practices, Tang San said helplessly, feeling that he really can't get angry with his younger brother. Tang Yin certainly knows what his elder brother is talking about. It should be noted that when Tang Yin was young, Tang San taught Tang Yin all the unique skills of the Tang clan, including purple extreme magic eyes, Xuanyu hands, ghost shadow and mist, crane control and dragon capturing, as well as the 100 secrets of hidden weapons. Purple extreme demon eyes. This is a cultivation technique used by the Tang sect for the eyes. Initially, the increase in combat may be limited, but later on, it becomes a formidable technique. Insight into everything is just the foundation, and at the same time, it can bring the insight and dynamic vision of the eyes to an incredible limit. The only flaw may be that this set of martial arts is divided into 4 stages. Comprehensive, profound, mustard, and vast. At the same time, one can only practice during the extreme time when the sun appears in the early morning. However, Tang Yin was very clear that if he started practicing, it would be a very useful trump card. Xuanyu hand is a martial arts practice of the Tang clan. It can greatly increase the defense of both hands like an armed and domineering aura, making it invincible from all kinds of poisons and as strong as a rock. When it is deep, it can even use both hands as weapons. Resist enemy attacks. Ghost Shadow and Mist is a magical footwork of the Tang clan, which has a high increase in its own movement speed after being cast, and can even cast heavy residual shadows. Pairing it with purple extreme magic eyes and throwing hidden weapons is simply a bug. Practicing to a high and deep level, even a sensitive attack type Soul Master can make a frontal attack. At the same time, this is also the most diligent effort for Tang Yin to contact. After all, Tang Yin has not yet discovered his cheats, whether it is the system or the grandfather. The only thing he knows is the assistance of the 3 Remy who flew to an unknown place he saw during his time traveling aimlessly. That's right, it's Remy's assistance, which is DNF's reply prop. Up to now, Tang Yin hasn't figured out why he saw the props of Tencent DNF when he was playing Genshin Impact. Can it be said that big companies are so crazy about grabbing users now? Even the types of cheats that they travel through need to be snatched. But if you guys grab it, at least give me one seeking the psychological shadow area of Tang Yin. Era's new work requires everyone's support. Era is rolling on the ground, seeking big recommendation tickets from everyone. The new book really needs everyone's love and care. Era's new work requires everyone's support. Era is rolling on the ground, seeking big recommendation tickets from everyone. The new book really needs everyone's love and care. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Tang Family Ancestral Instructions, Seeking Tickets, Seeking Collections. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2 Tang Family Ancestral Instructions, Seeking Tickets, Seeking Collections. I don't know if it's because the big companies on both sides are competing for users, and the cheats on both sides have a negative and positive impact. So much so that now Tang Yin has reached a state where there are no hanging devices available. In such an environment, if you think about your future opponent being the Martial Soul Hall, can Tang Yin not practice the escape skill of Ghost Shadow and mistake well? After all, not to mention anything else, it's just his martial soul configuration. Although my old man is a grand and majestic Douluo, and my mother is 100,000-year-old blue-silver emperor. But it is precisely because of this that blue-silver grass is likely to take action when he awakens his martial soul in the future. After all, the ancestral teachings of our old Tang family are written like this. Haotian Shidi, as of now. You are wise and talented, and filial piety comes first. Tang House subordinates, please remember clearly. Having a child without care, having a daughter with infertility. A man marrying a soul beast starts at 100,000 yuan. If a woman marries a cheat, she will not marry unless she is a god. Herbal waste soul, the glory of our tribe. Capable of attacking and defending, strategizing and strategizing. Grass only spreads to men, it's not difficult to flirt with girls. Our tribe is Haotian, leading in a strong attack. The girl passed it on, guarding against wolf hammers and thieves. With ancestral teachings in place, Tang Yin felt that inheriting the blue-silver grass was already a matter of certainty. But the problem is that blue-silver grass is indeed relatively weak in the early stage. Even if their blue-silver grass is somewhat special, their ability to play is still limited. At the end of the day, what they have is blue-silver grass, not blue rain. They can also have a sword light pointing at them and curses accompanying them. Or you can use trash talk to spray on the other person and end up in life. Although both have a blue color, these two are completely different dimensional things, and if it were to awaken the Haotian hammer, it wouldn't be much better. After all, where is the feud between my father and the Martial Soul Hall? If we discover a Haotian hammer outside of the Haotian sect, heaven knows how much trouble it will cause. Unless he can directly awaken the dual martial souls like his older brother. But this even takes the most likely probability algorithm. That's only a 1/3 chance. And with such a low probability, Tang Yin doesn't want to gamble. It can be seen from this how important it is to master a powerful escape technique in a different world. Sometimes, when people should follow their hearts, they should follow their own hearts. The virtue of being cautious and brave is worth learning from. It can be said that Tang Yin's current mentality, which means that Douluo does not have any extreme cowardice, does not need to rely on Tang Yin's years of veteran Voldemort's attitude to directly create an extreme cowardice every minute, and rely on this extreme to become a god. Don't worry about that, old man. Look at me, except for my limited ability to solve hidden weapons, I'm pretty good at everything else, okay? And my ghostly shadows are still above you, old man. Tang Yin said with his hands on his hips and a proud expression on his face. Looking at Tang San with a proud and coquettish expression, who was inexplicably adorable by his own younger brother, he couldn't help but nod Tang Yin's head and said, "That's why I keep reminding you. Xiao Yin, you have a martial arts talent that I've never seen before. It's because of this, you can't waste this talent and practice well." Tang San's words have no exaggeration at all. He truly believes that Tang Yin's martial arts talent is the highest he has ever seen in his 2 lifetimes. He can cultivate so well, all thanks to the cultivation foundation and experience he has already laid in his previous life. But Tang Yin is actually the first time for genuine goods. This is extremely unfavorable, and now Tang Yin's martial arts progress is on par with him, except for his slightly inferior investment in hidden weapons. The martial arts that Tang Yin is particularly interested in, such as Ghost Shadow, are even above him. It was precisely because of this that Tang San couldn't help but say when he saw Tang Yin's current lack of focus on cultivating Shantian Gong. On the other hand, Tang Yin's approach was very clear. As a traveler, he was certainly very aware of why their brothers had been unable to break through. After all, novels such as Douluo Continent and Dupo Tsangqiong were popular during Tang Yin's era. Tang Yin has always felt that he didn't get into the 985,211 because these novels were too good. After all, where are my own genes, but in the end, I only took an ordinary first book. And I still passed by the score line. Although it has been a long time now, Tang Yin still remembers the main settings and plot. It can be said that they are now ready for everything, only short of awakening their martial soul and soul ring. Okay, let's not talk about you. Since we're not practicing, let's go home early. Dad is still waiting for us to go home and cook. Looking at O Daodu, who was a bit coquettish at home, Tang San had no choice. Who calls him his own Odo Donan? What else can he do besides doting on him? After all, this is what he longs for in 2 lifetimes of family. In the eyes of Tang San now, his rebirth is not the best gift given to him by heaven, but rather the family affection in front of him. Hee, my brother is the best. I'll go see the trap I set up yesterday first, and whatever I do today, I'll eat. Tang Yin had not finished speaking before he completely spread out the ghost's shadow, and his final voice even felt like it was too strong to hear. Looking at his own O Daodu's excited expression, Tang San could only shake his head helplessly and chased after him in a ghostly pursuit. Speaking of which, Tang Yin is very curious about the ordinary creatures in this Douluo world. After all, in this mystical world where soul beasts exist, how do those ordinary animals survive? However, Tang Yin didn't pay much attention to such issues. After all, it was really because of the existence of these animals that Tang Yin and Tang San never lacked meat. After all, Tang Yin is personally carnivorous. In his previous life's words, that is. We humans have evolved for so many years, not just to be vegetarian. And today Tang Yin and his team had good luck. Tang Yin's trap caught a fat wild rabbit. Looking at the rabbit in his hand, Tang Yin had already planned how to eat him in his mind. A rabbit head can be made into a spicy rabbit head, with 2 rabbit legs wrapped in oatmeal, and finally fried until golden brown. The whole village is crying with envy. At this moment, Tang Yin's mind was spinning rapidly, completely forgetting the fact that his future sister-in-law was also a rabbit. The little dance of the soul beast forest. My spine inexplicably cools. Since it's a rabbit, it's not bad, I also love it. Tang San looked expectant when he saw the rabbit in Tang Yin's hand. After all, the Ba Shu region where their Tang clan is located is now in the Sichuan region. As is well known, no rabbit can survive and leave Sichuan. This statement is equally effective for Tang San. Upon hearing his elder brother's words, Tang Yin immediately discovered the flaws. Brother, you said you weren't driving before, so what? Should it be said that my elder brother is from Sichuan? Eating rabbits in your mouth is not enough. Are you planning to eat a 100,000-year-old pink rabbit in another world in another way? So, Tang San is actually an old driver, and he's the kind of person like the river god who can help his father deliver tofu. Era's new work requires everyone's support. Era is rolling on the ground, seeking big recommendation tickets from everyone. The new book really needs everyone's love and care. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Speed and passion teach us the truth, seeking tickets. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. The lesson of speed and passion, seeking tickets, seeking collections. Tang Yin looked at the old man next to him who was driving without knowing himself, and looked at his own brother's beautiful hair with some pity. Brother, you may not know that speed and passion have already been used in 9 parts, plus a spin-off to tell us a truth. That's to say, you can't drive too fast, your head will go bald. Wait, do you want to rely on this method to directly make yourself bald, and then awaken the passive skill? I have become bald and stronger. What? Buddy, why don't we add some exercise methods tomorrow, such as 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, 100 squats, and then run 10 kilometers? Tang Yin suggested with some pity. After all, since we want to become bald, it's better for us to follow Teacher Chiyu's method. After all, where is the teacher's precedent, my foolish Adudu? I feel like he's secretly arranging me. Tang San saw Tang Yin's gaze at him, but little did he know that Adudu's brain was twitching again, so he took out 3 flying knives and kept playing with them. The gaze was a danger. That's right, these European beans and the like are terms that Tang San learned from Tang Yin. What, I feel like the old man is about to wake up. Let's go back quickly. Tang Yin made a quick decision when he saw his own brother holding a knife. While shifting the topic, he grabbed the rabbit's ear and ran straight towards home. When Tang San saw his younger brother who had already started to run away, he couldn't really throw the flying knife away. In the end, he could only spoil himself and shake his head to continue following. As soon as they returned home, the 2 brothers began to cooperate with each other very tacitly. Due to Tang Yin's good cooking skills, the main task of cooking is his responsibility, while Tang San is responsible for helping him get started. For example, now Tang San is responsible for killing rabbits and cleaning up. The 2 brothers have been together day and night for so many years, and the tacit understanding between them goes without saying, less than an hour. Their dining table has already set a standard pairing of 1 meat, 2 vegetables, and 1 soup. It has to be said that with the existence of Tang Yin, Tang San's food is really much better than the original work. Looking at the thoroughly arranged dining table, Tang Yin sat down and said, "Brother, go call the old man. Xiao Yin, after all, our father is our father. Even if he doesn't care about us in his daily life, he will eventually." But Tang Yin didn't wait for Tang San to finish speaking and directly answered. "All right, brother. I believe the old man has some ulterior motives." "Oh my brother, this is how many times you've said it," Tang Yin said proudly. In fact, Tang Yin is not very resistant to Tang Haodao. After all, he is very clear about why Tang Hao has become what he is now. After all, the death of their mother had a significant impact on him. After all, Tang Hao now is not a title Douluo, but just a sad person. But in Tang Yin's view, all of this is not the reason why Tang Hao left his father's responsibility behind and let the 2 children, who had not even fully mastered self-care, live and die on their own while immersing himself in the past. At the end of the day, 9 out of 10, life is not satisfactory. Although Tang Yin's father in his past life was very unpredictable, he was able to take responsibility at critical moments. Just like that year, their mother fell ill from exhaustion from experiments, and then the elderly woman had a series of accidents, and Tang Yin's grandfather passed away. For a moment, various pressures focused on Tang Yin's father in his previous life. But even in such a situation, he still did not willingly fall, but instead forcefully supported the somewhat broken 3 families. Survived the most painful time. Of course, it's not that Tang Yin wants to compare the strengths and weaknesses of his 2 fathers, he's just heartbroken for Tang Hao. So when Tang Yin came out, he liked to call his old man an accident, so there was no other action. After all, he is very clear that without the suffering of others, do not advise others to be kind. If you go through his hardships, you may not necessarily have his goodness. If he really condemns his father from the perspective of a third party, what is the difference from those who stand on the moral high ground and force him blindly? Not to mention these most hurtful words, the target is still the closest family. In no time, Tang San had already walked out of the room with a middle-aged man who looked a bit burly. Although he was not very old, he gave a feeling of aging. It can be said that whoever sees this scene cannot believe it. The person in front of me is the youngest title Douluo in the Douluo world today, Haotian Douluo. Tang Hao. Seeing her father come out, Tang Yin didn't say much. After Tang Hao moved his chopsticks, he directly made himself a spoonful of soup. Tang San was also very helpless as he watched every meal appear in a suppressed atmosphere. After all, on one side was his most respected father, and on the other side was his most beloved younger brother. As Tang San had already begun to develop a younger brother control attribute, he couldn't bear to say anything about him. Finally, we could only continue eating in this strange atmosphere as usual. And just as Tang Yin and the others finished their meal. As a truly legendary figure in the Douluo world, Jack, the elder of Holy Soul Village, came to find Tang Yin and his two brothers. It is not an exaggeration to say that old Jack is a legendary figure. After all, he curses the title Douluo and touches the head of the sea god. Amidst laughter and conversation, he fed 100,000 soul beasts. The ox man who quietly transformed Holy Soul Village into Sea God Village. Is it not excessive to be a legendary figure with just this resume? In Tang Yin's mind, it can be said that only the one who can rival the village elder Jack is the one who trapped the 6th generation eye with one hand, punched the 7th generation eye wildly, kicked the 2nd pillar of Ujibwa and couldn't get up, and used his murderous aura alone to scare Xiaoying shivering and not beheading the ghost person anymore. The true appearance is the pinnacle. After all, the rest will be downhill. Xiao San, Xiao Yin, are you at home? Old Jack's voice came from outside the house. Yes, Grandpa Jack. Tang Yin responded first and stood up to open the door for old Jack. This is all to welcome guests, definitely not to avoid washing dishes. Just as the door opened, Tang Yin was the first to say, I'm sorry, Grandpa Jack. My old man just went to bed. Let's go to the courtyard and talk about anything. Tang Yin spoke repeatedly and led old Jack onto the stone chair in the yard. I poured a glass of water for the other party on the way. And when Tang San saw Tang Yin's movements, he smiled slightly. He was very clear that his younger brother was just a simple knife-mouthed tofu heart. Although it's not easy to talk to his own father, the details in life show that he cares very much about his father. Of course, Tang San wouldn't stay inside either. Although he knew his younger brother had the intention of avoiding washing dishes, what could he say? A little tidying up is also to greet old Jack. Era's new work requires everyone's support. Era is rolling on the ground, seeking big recommendation tickets from everyone. The new book really needs everyone's love and care. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. 2 Attitudes, Seeking Tickets, Seeking Collections. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4 2 Attitudes, Seeking Tickets, Seeking Collections. If only all the children in our village could be as sensible as your brothers, that would be great. Old Jack couldn't help but sigh as he looked at the 2 brothers who were busy after his arrival. Hee, Grandpa Village Chief, what you're saying. Tang Yin was a bit embarrassed when old Jack said this. After all, his psychological age is also a young man in his 20s. When compared to children, he always feels very strange. Grandpa Jack, are you looking for us for something? Not only Tang Yin, but Tang San also felt quite strange, so he immediately changed the topic and said. Oh, I came here mainly to remind you that it will be time for our village to awaken the martial souls of our children in 3 days. You 2 brothers are already 6 years old this year and it's time to participate, said old Jack. Is the awakening of martial souls this year? I know Grandpa Jack. Thank you for your hard work in the morning. We just received some eggs today, Grandpa Jack, please take some back. Tang Yin heard the gratitude and handed some eggs to the old village chief on the side. The village chief's grandfather won't accept it anymore. There are still a few families to go from now on, so it's troublesome to hold this bag. Both of your brothers are still growing, so you can eat on your own. Old Jack felt very pleased and touched the hair of the two brothers, saying, "Don't worry, Grandpa Village Chief. We have left a lot here, and we only have 3 members in our family. We can't eat it anyway. You can just take it as a favor," Tang San said at this moment. After all, Grandpa Jack is highly respected by both Tang Yin and Tang San. Because when they were still young, their family received a lot of help from the old village chief. Every time the old village chief uses various excuses to send them food, and now that they are wealthy, they also want to give back to this old man. Finally, old Jack didn't mention the 2 brothers and left with a bag of fresh eggs. Time is still passing by, and at the end of 3 days, it feels like a moment. And today is the day when the children of Holy Soul Village awaken. And these days, Tang Yin can be said to be both excited and conflicted, due to the uncertainty of the awakening of the martial soul. The best scenario is, of course, to awaken a twin martial soul like my own brother, which can provide both cover and output. Blue silver grass can perfectly cover up his identity, while Haotian hammer can reason with the other party. If only one of them is used, each has its own flaws and troubles. This unknown situation has caused Tang Yin to be very conflicted now. And now old Jack has taken Tang Yin and his group of children of the same age to the martial soul hall in their village. Do you want the old man to be so lazy? When we are so important, since we would rather sleep at home than come over. Tang Yin said indignantly to the old man who is probably still sleeping at home now. Tang San saw the appearance of his own Odaodu and comforted, "Father, there should be something else to do today. As far as he can do anything, have he got an order for forging iron recently? What else does he do all day except sleeping and drinking?" Tang Yin said grimly. "Don't say that about father, don't worry. With me around, no matter what martial soul awakens, feel at ease. Everything has me." After all, Tang San is Tang Yin's brother, and of course, he noticed Tang Yin's abnormal mental state in the past few days. Combining time, I can roughly guess what Tang Yin is worried about. So at this moment, he calmly comforted Tang Yin. The same thing, 2 attitudes. Although there is a part of it that Tang Yin knows about the hardships of the future and is somewhat worried about. But more importantly, the 2 brothers grew up in different environments in their previous lives. In his past life, Tang San lived in a world full of sects, filled with joy and enmity. He experienced much more cruelty and bloodshed than Tang Yin. The ability to adapt to the unknown is naturally stronger. Tang Yin didn't have to. In his last life, he lived in a peaceful country. The most fierce quarrel with others was whether Zongzi should be sweet or salty. Although Tang Yin has made possible adjustments in recent years, it is inevitable that he will still feel a bit nervous when things come to an end. Upon hearing his elder brother's words, Tang Yin didn't say much either. At this moment of communication between the 2 brothers, old Jack had already taken them to the door of the martial soul hall in the village. With their arrival, a figure dressed in a white robe floated down in front of the martial soul gate, and finally stood proudly in front of everyone. That's right, the biggest trader in the history of the Zhengren Martial Soul Hall. The awakened protagonists can take a detour around the Martial Soul Hall. At the same time, it also possesses the traverser of flowing water, the awakener of iron, and so on. Known as Su Yuntao. Upon seeing Su Yuntao's arrival, Jack, the village chief, greeted him immediately and bowed slightly before saying, "Respected Great Soul Master, you have worked hard to make this trip. I don't need to say that, my time is limited. If we're all here, let's start straight away," Su Yuntao said calmly, really grasping his temperament. "Okay." Old Jack didn't hesitate to hear Su Yuntao's words and turned around to introduce Su Yuntao to the crowd behind him. "Just a few of them, I'll say a few more points first, and finally there are a few more points in my way of speaking that make Tang Yin start to want to sleep." He was curious, could all these leaders be so capable? It has been proven that Tang Yin is not the only one who can't listen anymore. Su Yuntao, who was watching the village take out a speech from his pocket, stepped forward and interrupted, "All right, is it meaningful to talk so much every year? Becoming a soul master is that simple. Not to mention anything else, I have walked through 6 nearby villages so far, but I still haven't found any children who possess soul power, or any martial souls suitable for cultivating soul power." Su Yuntao said in a slightly depressed tone. "You should know that for these soul masters who help children awaken, only those who successfully awaken can receive certain rewards." Regarding this, old Jack, who had been the village chief for so many years, was also very clear and spoke in a somewhat helpless tone, saying, "Yes, I can feel that most of them are disciples of various major sects and families. It's really difficult for ordinary people like us." Seeing that old Jack finally stopped speaking, Su Yuntao directly opened the door of the martial soul hall with soul power. He's worried that he might slow down a bit. What if old Jack starts talking again? Come with me. Following Su Yuntao into the martial soul hall in the village, Tang Yin curiously looked around at everything. After all, there are no soul masters in their village, nor are they permanent. It can be said that this martial soul hall is only opened once a year. But in that area, Tang Yin found that since there was no dust around, Era's new work requires everyone's support. Era is rolling on the ground, seeking big recommendation tickets from everyone. The new book really needs everyone's love and care. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Husky. Request for tickets, request for collection. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5 Husky. Request for tickets, request for collection. After all, Tang Yin and his team are only located in a village-level martial soul hall. Although it is already the largest building in this village, it is just like that. In no time, the Tang Yin brothers and the other 6 were still standing in a row. For a moment, Tang Yin's mood became increasingly excited. After all, as a traveler, it is absolutely false to say that he is not excited when facing the power that is finally about to awaken. But more importantly, this may be Tang Yin's last chance to confirm whether he has any cheats. Because Tang Yin remembers that when he watched various Douluo fans, many of the protagonists had no signs of cheating at first, and only then did he realize his cheating with the awakening of his martial soul. So this awakening of the martial soul is undoubtedly Tang Yin's last chance. As for some of the factors in the late stage of intermediate and secondary diseases, Tang Yin himself would never admit them in this complex mood. A thought suddenly appeared in Tang Yin's mind. In an instant it was like a white light rushing through Tang Yin's little head, often testing Conan's ability to figure out something. Just as his mood was complex, Tang Yin suddenly understood. He doesn't seem to have to worry like this. After all, awakening the blue-silver grass won't attract the attention of Su Yuntao and the martial soul hall, and the twin martial souls can use the blue-silver grass for cover. And if it were the Haotian hammer, it wouldn't be Tang Yin's concern. I won't tell the old man if it's a big deal. No matter how useless my father is, it's not easy to threaten a great soul master, or it's not surprising to just kill someone and silence them. So it's not him who is at risk of his life, but Su Yuntao. Why panic directly? If you want to panic, it's also Su Yuntao. And as soon as the idea came to his mind, Tang Yin immediately stopped hesitating. On the contrary, I am even more looking forward to the awakening of my martial soul. The Lone Wolf. Possession. And just as Tang Yin had figured it all out, Su Yuntao in front of them suddenly shouted, directly entering the state of martial soul possession. Accompanied by a canine creature emerging behind Su Yuntao, 2 halos appeared around him, one white and one yellow. And when Tang Yin saw Du Yuntao's martial soul, it was stuck in his mouth. Tang Yin. Are you telling me that you are a lone wolf? Look at the black and white hair, the color that constantly reveals this wise radiance, paired with the iconic 3 flames on the head. This kind of high looks that can only be obtained through intelligence. This is clearly a husky, okay. I also know this guy is called a Siberian sled dog. The next moment, Tang Yin suddenly discovered a flaw. After all, if Su Yuntao's martial soul is air ha, then Su Yuntao's ability to firmly transform various protagonist martial souls into useless martial souls can be understood. After all, the saying, God sprinkled wisdom on humanity, but only Era held up an umbrella, is also quite plain. Immediately, Tang Yin began to despise Su Yuntao again. After all, with Su Yuntao's combat power and martial soul level, he truly felt that he was not worthy of Air Ha. What kind of dog is Husky? It's a 1 Ha top 3 tiger, 3 Ha sinking aircraft carrier, 5 Ha fighting god, 10 Ha genesis, Bai Ha destroying the Milky Way, and Qian Ha dominating the universe. Society, my brother, there are still many cowardly words. I have never lost a fight, I have never won a fight. I don't understand the instructions, so there's no need to say anything about dismantling the house. I can't learn how to bark like a dog, but I can whine. If a wolf turns back, there must be a reason, either to repay kindness or to seek revenge. Haha, look back, the days are over. Either demolishing homes or demolishing buildings. Husky, as a national first-class protected waste, he was not handsome when he was young, but as he grew up, he was left with nothing. Not having a dog is not fun, but getting angry after having one is a dog that is suitable for others to keep at home. Not being beaten for a day makes my whole body uncomfortable. As the saying goes, ha 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 ha. It is a dog that is not aggressive but can make its owner extremely aggressive. That's it, since Su Yuntao is at this level. Tang Yin can only say that he wasted his martial soul too much. Those two, they should be the soul rings mentioned by the others in the village. Compared to Tang Yin, whose brain circuits had already flown to unknown places, Tang San was much more stable. Since Su Yuntao's burst of soul power, he had been observing these very unfamiliar things very carefully. Ignoring the completely opposite thinking of the Tang Yin and Tang San brothers, the other children had already stood in a row waiting for awakening. And their awakened martial souls are nothing but sickles, hoes, and the like. Among them, Tang Yin also saw a girl awaken from the frying pan. Although he didn't know her, Tang Yin was already in a humanitarian state and began to mourn for her husband in silence because Tang Yin and the others are on the side, awakening them is also the last thing. And the two of them, Tang Yin, stood outside even more than their own brothers, so they were the last one. It was really because of this that Tang Yin had the opportunity to take a look at everyone's martial souls first. Until his brother, Tang Yin did not see the little girl who awakened blue silver grass in the original work. Is this the butterfly effect I brought with me? Is this small one a bit too much? While Tang Yin's brain circuit was still drifting, Tang San had already completed his awakening. Seeing his elder brother's blue silver grass, Tang Yin finally pulled his mind back. Looking back slightly, from his perspective, he could clearly see a heavy and thick black light flickering in the palm of his hand, which was carried behind him. This should be the special effect of the Haotian hammer. If only I could awaken the Haotian hammer myself. If anyone were to force me blindly, it would be a big hammer of 80 and a small hammer of 40. Directly using a set of physics holy swords and explaining a good lesson to the other party. TSK, that scene is very impressive when you think about it. Just as Tang Yin's brain circuit began to twitch, a fierce white light pulled him back again. The next moment, I heard Su Yuntao's exclamation of surprise, "Oh my goodness, it's innate soul power." "Uncle, what is innate soul power?" Tang San asked curiously when he saw Su Yuntao's surprised expression. Su Yuntao patiently explained Tang San's question. But in the end, he still complained about his luck. Finally, a man with inborn soul power appeared, but the spirit of martial arts was blue silver grass, which made his expected bonus go away from him again after explaining, Su Yuntao had no intention of saying anything more and came directly to Tang Yin's side to quickly end his awakening here. Tang Yin didn't say much about this and walked directly to the center of the awakening martial soul formation, with increasingly strong expectations in his heart. With Su Yuntao's soul power activated, Tang Yin felt like he was soaking in a hot spring at this moment. At the same time, the Xiantian Gong in his body was also mobilized by these soul powers, as if it had shattered a shackle on his body invisibly. Era's new work requires everyone's support. Era is rolling on the ground, seeking big recommendation tickets from everyone. The new book really needs everyone's love and care. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Blue Silver Firearms, Request for Tickets, Request for Collection. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6 Blue Silver Firearms, Request for Tickets, Request for Collection. With the guidance of this power, Tang Yin could clearly feel a power beginning to emerge within him. Finally, he rushed towards his hands. And this result made Tang Yin happy. If he hadn't guessed correctly, this feeling should be twin martial souls. And with this thought in mind, Tang Yin calmly placed one hand behind him like his own brother. Because that hand can clearly feel a very heavy feeling. But none of these were the reasons that made Tang Yin excited. What really excited Tang Yin was when he saw the martial soul that he thought was the hand of blue silver grass appearing. To be honest, when Tang Yin saw this martial soul, he wished he could have a passive and forced calmness like the Bone King Guoutian. Fortunately, Tang Yin was a little mentally prepared after all. Relying on her height, she bowed slightly and tried to restrain her emotions. Success did not catch Su Yuntao's attention. What kind of martial soul is this? Is it a mutated martial soul? But what is this? If it were a weapon, it would be too short, and the blade wouldn't even open. There are also blue-silver grass patterns on top of it, and the person just now is your brother. Are you a mutated martial soul of blue-silver grass? Su Yuntao looked at Tang Yin's automatic pistol with a puzzled expression on his face. That's right, Tang Yin's martial soul is exactly 2 automatic pistols. Saying that an automatic pistol is actually not accurate, because Tang Yin felt more clearly that he could control his martial soul to change its form. To be precise, this automatic pistol can also have unrestricted conversion between revolvers, handguns, crossbows, and rifles. And these forms are really too familiar to Tang Yin. After all, this is the game he used to play most often in his childhood. The game that once caused internet cafes to fall, guarded by millions of warriors, and shouted every day full of 70,000 yuan. DNF Dungeon and Warriors. But in the next moment, Tang Yin was stuck in his throat with a mouthful. The assistance from Remy that he saw while traveling was actually true. Are all the cheats sent through time travel like this now? Tang Yin pondered, and instinctively, his wrist and 2 automatic pistols were abandoned, instantly becoming the size suitable for him and being caught by Tang Yin's hands. With both hands catching the 2 guns, I almost instinctively brushed a gunshot. The posture is called graceful and handsome. Tang Yin is still very satisfied with this. After all, regardless of the power of these 2 guns, he is very satisfied with their appearance alone. After all, injury is only temporary, while being handsome is lifelong. At this moment, Tang Yin also completely saw the appearance of the 2 guns in his hand. The overall style of the 2 guns was an automatic pistol, but from the muzzle to the handle, there were 2 intertwined patterns of blue-silver grass covering the 2 guns. The shiny silver barrel, paired with blue-silver embellishments, looks really nice. This combination adds an artistic beauty to the already handsome firearms. Unfortunately, the mutated martial soul of blue-silver grass, no matter how good, can it be. Not to mention it doesn't even have a blade, it doesn't look suitable for combat at all. It's probably not a good martial soul either. But Su Yuntao shook his head helplessly when he saw the twin spears. Tang Yin is not surprised by this. After all, it is a world where long-range weapons only include bows and arrows, and not even crossbows. It is normal to look down on the potential of automatic pistols. But people in this world cannot see it. As someone from another world, Tang San, who is also a genius in Tang Dynasty's hidden weapons, could see Tang Yin's martial soul at first glance. Even he could see that Tang Yin's double spears were similar to his mechanical hidden weapons. Xiao Yin's martial soul is a bit interesting, so I'll borrow it from him to study and research. At this moment, Tang Yin, as a genius in mechanical hidden weapons, began to ignite his research soul and was already planning how to trick his beloved Douluo. This child, do you know the name of your martial soul? I need to make a registration here. If you don't know, you can choose one yourself. Anyway, it's your mutated martial soul. Su Yuntao didn't know what this martial soul was called, so he said directly to Tang Yin. Blue-silver firearms, Tang Yin said. After all, this is the complete series of Sharpshooter firearms, and Tang Yin simply called it blue-silver firearms, and Tang Yin also thought of the names for each form, as Tang Yin was very self-aware of himself. So the name is also very simple. Starting from the automatic pistol, it is convenient to call it blue-silver pistol, blue-silver revolver, blue-silver handgun, blue-silver crossbow, and blue-silver rifle. It can be said that it is quite convenient to change their mentality, which is just Tang Yin's idea. Firearm. What's the name? Forget it, just be happy. Come here now to test your soul power level. Su Yuntao didn't hesitate about things he didn't know, just treated them as a child's play. Let Tang Yin start the process directly. Okay. Tang Yin was quite indifferent to the test under docking, after all, he was very clear. He and his brother have the same innate soul power. It's all just a matter of missing one soul ring. And now the things he had been worried about before have been easily resolved, the Haotian hammer has not been exposed, and another martial soul is so powerful. Now Tang Yin has started to think about how to ride the wave. As is well known, a gun is fast beyond 7 steps, and a gun is accurate and fast within 7 steps. It's time to tell the people of this world, brother, that times have changed. What? Another innate full soul power. And also a useless martial soul. This. At the moment he saw Tang Yin's soul power, Su Yuntao was filled with thoughts, saying that he was bad today, awakening 2 soul masters, and that the innate full soul power bonus must have been there. But if he were good, both were useless martial souls. With this martial soul, even if he had, how much could the bonus be? Seeking the psychological shadow area of Su Yuntao. If this is a normal situation where 2 innate soul masters with full soul power are awakened at once, then he can directly take Bai Fume and become the main hall of the martial soul hall, heading towards the peak of his life. But now, alright, that's all for the awakening ceremony. Children, you all go back, Su Yuntao said with a mischievous expression at this moment. As he spoke, he put away the crystal ball and a few formation stones used for awakening, and for a moment, his back was so desolate. Please wait a moment, Master Su Yuntao. May I ask you some questions? Just as Su Yuntao was about to leave, Tang San suddenly stopped him. After all, he has too many questions to ask about the martial soul, the most powerful system in this world. After all, Tang San himself is a person with a strong thirst for knowledge. If it weren't for that, how could he have done those things in his past life? And seeing this scene, Tang Yin began to ignite his acting skills. After all, he knew everything his elder brother wanted to ask. But it's hard to say, so I can only pretend to be a cute little white child. After all, I am still a naive person. Why bother to think of reasons for things that can be easily passed? The reason why privileges are limited and expired is very clear to Tang Yin. I won't say anything, the first rule of Tang style performance. Action. Era's new work requires everyone's support. Era is rolling on the ground, seeking big recommendation tickets from everyone. The new book really needs everyone's love and care. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Preparation for research, seeking tickets, seeking collections. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Chapter 7. Preparation for research, seeking tickets, seeking collections. Tang still highly recognizes his performance in this wave. Show a curious child with the same expression to the fullest. But at the same time, Tang couldn't help but sigh. After all, seeing his elder brother's pursuit of knowledge about things, it's no wonder Tang San was able to master all the hidden weapons of the Tang sect so young in his previous life. Not to mention anything else, this attitude of seeking knowledge is really a good match between my elder brother and the master. Even in Tang Yin's view, his elder brother is still above the master. After all, the master embarked on this path because his martial soul was too weak, but his own elder brother had a pure desire for knowledge. Seeing his own elder brother who was still somewhat unsatisfied, Tang came to him and comforted him. "All right, older brother. Didn't Uncle Zhao say there was a specialized academy to teach soul masters when he went up? Anyway, we have already awakened our martial souls now, so we can just go to that school to study in the future." On this side, Tang is still comforting his own Oni sauce, while on the other side, Grandpa Jack, who has already talked to Su Yuntao about the situation, has also walked towards this side. "Xiao San, Xiao Yin. Are you the two children mentioned by the soul master who have awakened their innate soul power?" Jack, the village chief, confirmed. "Well, that's right. It's our Jack grandfather. Is that okay? Is there something wrong?" Tang San was comforted by his own Dowdu and quickly recovered. Now Tang San is already thinking about whether their family's funds are enough for the two brothers to go to school. However, Tang San is still thinking about it and they are stopped by old Jack. So subconsciously, he responded. "It's not a big deal, I just wanted to ask if you have the intention to further your studies at the Soul Master Academy. After all, there is all the knowledge that soul masters need to master there. Our village has one working student quota every year, and with last year's useless quota, it's just enough for you two brothers to study. So I want to ask your thoughts." Old Jack asked. Although Tang San has already developed a strong interest in the martial souls of this world, especially after being discovered that the soul power of this world is related to his Shantian Gong, this feeling is even stronger. But even so, Tang San did not respond to old Jack immediately. "Sorry Grandpa Jack, this matter is of great importance. We need to go back and discuss it with our father," Tang San said. This is also his biggest concern. After all, if they leave, his father will not have enough money left at home, and whether he can take care of himself alone. And Tang around him had no such worries at all. After all, as someone with a divine perspective, if a titled Douluo couldn't even afford to raise himself, then there would be ghosts. Looking at the current development of the plot, Tang inexplicably has various small triumphs of "everyone is drunk and I wake up alone." Upon hearing Tang San's words, old Jack also felt that there was nothing wrong with what he was saying. No matter how mature the child in front of him was, he was still just a child. After all, he needed to ask the parents for their opinion on such a big matter. It was precisely because of this that old Jack's eyes became even more determined. Although he has never had a good impression of that messy guy who even needs to take care of his own child, this time it is for the glory of their village, and more importantly, for the development of their village. It is also for the future prospects of these two sensible children in front of us. He must also go and see that guy. Then we'll do as you say, Xiao San, Grandpa Jack will send you back now. I'll also have a good conversation with your father. As he spoke, he prepared to let the other parents pick up their children first. Let's forget it, Grandpa Jack. You don't have to go over specially. Our father's side will be handed over to us. After all, if the old man doesn't care, even if you go, it won't be useful. It won't be good if you get angry then. Tang who knew about the future, scratched her head awkwardly and said. Sigh. Alright, then I won't go over for now, but if your dad makes a mistake, even if I'm angry to death, I'll have to say a few good things to him, said old Jack with great anger. At this moment, Tang Yin felt that old Jack's aura had reached its peak, thanks to his ability to touch the head of the sea god. His demeanor was different. What title Douluo, isn't he just cursing and cursing with him? Separated from old Jack, Tang Yin and Tang San quickly returned home. After looking at the sleeping old man, Tang Yin went directly to the backyard to start playing with his martial soul. After all, Su Yuntao was here before, so it was not convenient for him to study. But now it's different. With the old man covering up, Tang Yin doesn't hesitate at all. In the next moment, the blue-silver firearm had already appeared in Tang Yin's hands, accompanied by the dance of his firearm. The blue-silver firearms also kept changing back and forth between automatic pistols, revolvers, rifles, handguns, and crossbows. Finally, Tang Yin froze in the state of a crossbow. In the previous generation, Tang Yin's favorite weapon for skilled marksmen was a crossbow, because he felt that it had a particularly good hand feel and the sound of attacks was particularly soothing. As Tang San began to play with his martial soul, his gaze was constantly on the ever-changing blue rain firearms. Finally, as Tang Yin stopped his weapon on his most familiar crossbow, he immediately asked, "Xiao Yin, what is the situation with your martial soul? Why can he constantly change in so many forms?" "Hehe, it's nothing, it's just a characteristic of my martial soul. It's not a single weapon, but a series. I call it blue-silver firearms. And this series is composed of blue-silver pistols, blue-silver revolvers, blue-silver cannons, blue-silver crossbows, and blue-silver rifles. Each weapon has its advantages and disadvantages," Tang Yin said. "I'm not quite sure about handguns, but I know the function of crossbows. Similarly, other weapons should have similar main functions, otherwise they won't become a series." "So your martial soul is a ranged martial soul," Tang San analyzed. "Directly demonstrate the abilities of experts in mechatronic hidden weapons to the fullest. Even his immovable weapon can be guessed at its core simply by looking at its mechanical structure. Sure, it's not bad he's an old brother. A clever duck." Tang Yin gave his own old brother a thumbs up and boasted. "There's nothing to praise about this, but I have a question. I remember if a hand crossbow doesn't have a crossbow, it doesn't have much aggressiveness. So how do you solve your crossbow and other things?" Tang San asked his main question. "This is my next experimental direction, buddy. Let's turn the backyard upside down first," Tang Yin said as he drove his ghost shadow and began to bustle around. Driving it was like holding onto a toy that he loved, and Tang San was also amused. "Without saying much, my martial soul is not in a hurry. Since my younger brother wants to play, of course, I will accompany O Douluo first. Era's new work requires everyone's support. Era is rolling on the ground, seeking big recommendation tickets from everyone. The new book really needs everyone's love and care." End of this chapter. Chapter 8. The Coffin Board of a Physics Boss, Seeking Tickets, Seeking Collections. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8. The Coffin Board of a Physics Boss, Seeking Tickets, Seeking Collections. Tang San looked at the busy O Douluo and shook his head somewhat helplessly. This Douluo from his own family is good at everything, and even his martial arts talent is rare in his 2 lifetimes. But it's just that his personality is too unconventional, and he can't be reassured. Thinking of this, Tang San couldn't help but look at his other hand, on which a pitch-black hammer began to appear. Just by appearing, Tang San began to consume his soul power violently, invisibly showcasing his strength. It is precisely because of this that although Tang San is not sure what kind of martial soul this is, he believes it is definitely not weak. But it's okay, as long as Xiao Yin is happy, as long as I'm here, no one will hurt him. Tang San muttered firmly to himself. After all, the top 10 were Tang San, who came from an orphan background, and he was very eager for family affection. He can use his talent to research the strongest hidden weapons, but this alone makes him powerless. So when Tang San discovered that he finally had everything in this life, he cherished it even more. That unruly father is like this, let alone his younger brother who spends time with Tang San. It can be said that in terms of the weight in the heart alone, Tang Yin's weight is even higher than that of Tang Hao, the father. Brother, hurry up, what are you doing? I'm going to start here, if I slow down a bit, I'll miss it. Tang Yin finished almost everything on his end, and when he saw his own brother still a bit stunned, he immediately urged. Here we go. Tang San responded, his face smiling again as he faced the convergence of Sunshine Chow and Tang Yin. After all, they create a courtyard or something here, as long as you can surround it, it's all yours. Tang Yin used to grow crops and vegetables in order to better develop the racial talent of their flower growers. So from the beginning, the yard was made very large. And now the benefits of a large yard are reflected. Tang Yin placed wooden stakes from 30 to 100 meters for training. At this moment, he saw his own elder brother coming over, and Tang Yin also cast a ghostly shadow to go directly to his experimental location. In fact, arrows and ammunition are all very simple, but when I use different firearms, soul power will automatically generate ammunition that suits them. Tang Yin explained when he saw his own brother coming over. As soon as he finished speaking, he saw his older brother scratching his head there. Seeing this scene, Tang Yin slapped himself in the face, and then he remembered that there was a hammer and ammunition in Tang San's era, which his own brother had never heard of. So Tang Yin began to explain to his elder brother what a gun is and what ammunition is. So, you learned all this knowledge from the martial soul. It's really convenient. Tang San said with some emotion when he heard his own O'Dowda's explanation. What's so enviable about this? Let's start the experiment first. Tang Yin picked up the automatic pistol and aimed it at the wooden stake in the distance, which gave him a burst of output. The final result was quite satisfactory for Tang Yin, as all the blue-silver firearms had excellent attack power. Even the automatic pistol with the worst attack power in DNF has an effective range of about 40 meters. Not to mention that with the improvement of his own strength in the future, the attack power of his weapons will continue to increase. Not only that, Tang Yin can also adjust the attack power of firearms by adjusting the soul power consumed by ammunition. Of course, these were not Tang Yin's main concerns. What made Tang Yin roast most was the soul power consumption of the martial spirit. He directly experimented with various experiments for an afternoon, and did not stop the whole process, but still had 1/3 of the soul power. You should know that he only has level 10 soul power now, and even this soul power has such endurance. Tang Yin, who has a fear of insufficient firepower, is quite reassured. And Tang San was even more surprised. After all, in order to better understand the attack power of Tang Yin's weapons, he often compared and tested these weapons with Zhuge Shen crossbow. And the same hand crossbow, Tang Yin's hand crossbow power is already close to 1/3 or 1/4 of the power of Zhuge Shen crossbow. You should know that the crossbow is still the weaker part of Tang Yin's weapons in terms of attack power. This is a bit scary. With such destructive power, they don't consume much mana yet. This is simply a crazy friction of energy conservation on the ground, really relying on oneself as a cheat, jumping wildly on the coffins of major physics experts. Don't misunderstand, it's because the coffin board can't be pressed down that the jumping behavior occurred. Even Tang Yin has various roast, after all, even if you are a fantasy world. And this is Tang Yin's current martial soul, a presence that makes people completely unable to resist the coffins of major physics experts, and it is also the kind that has already seen the head in terms of range. The farthest one is the rifle. The second is a revolver, the third is a crossbow, and the fourth is a handgun. The most recent handgun has a maximum range of 5 meters. Although the crossbow may appear to have the lowest technological content among a group of firearms, talking about physics in front of this cheater who knocks the coffin of a physics expert is simply ridiculous. Tang Yin finally figured out that the effects of these weapons were based on the game. Just like an automatic pistol, although it has the worst attack power, it has a very high magic damage bonus. However, all of these can only be further studied after Tang Yin obtains the Soul Ring. As for its power, the most powerful is the handgun. After all, just a single bullet word is enough to demonstrate his power with silver. If you want to be more objective, just look at the wall that has been destroyed by Tang Yin's one-shot explosion. So this is the reason why you bombed my room. Tang Hao appeared with a grey face, looking at the Tang Yin and Tang San brothers with very dangerous eyes. It can be said that if Tang Yin and his team don't give him a qualified explanation, he will definitely let these two brothers experience what it means to have a father's love in a landslide, and to learn more about stir-fried bamboo shoots and meat. If it weren't for you suddenly asking us to cook, would I have been scared? If I hadn't been scared, would I have hit my own wall? Tang Yin directly faced his old man, tightly grasping his aura. What's wrong with the title Douluo? There's always someone on the ground who dares to face the thunderous aura. Tang San felt a headache when he saw the father and son who were about to make a scene again. He immediately separated them and began to shift the topic. This is all a small matter. Let's go find the money master to come and repair it. By the way, father, today my martial souls and Xiao Yin have awakened. What martial soul have you awakened, mistress? Tang Hao asked lightly. Blue-silver grass. Tang San replied immediately when he saw that the topic had been successfully changed. Upon hearing the name blue-silver grass, Tang Hao's originally decadent expression was clearly moved. Era's new work requires everyone's support. Era is rolling on the ground, seeking big recommendation tickets from everyone. The new book really needs everyone's love and care. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Tang Yin's small book, Seeking Tickets, Seeking Collections. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. Tang Yin's small book, Seeking Tickets, Seeking Collections. That's right, and because both Xiaoyin and I are born with full soul power, Grandpa Jack wants us to attend classes at the Soul Master Academy in Notting City to learn knowledge related to Soul Masters. Tang San also began to convey Grandpa Jack's meaning to his father at this time. But Tang Hao seemed to have not heard Tang San's words. His mouth seemed to unconsciously murmur the blue-silver grass. Finally, he suddenly looked up and said very clearly, "No way. No, after all, blue-silver grass is just a useless martial soul. What effect can you have after practicing it?" Tang Hao said firmly in his tone. Upon hearing his own old man's words, Tang Yin immediately wanted to take him back and make fun of him. It's okay for others to say such things, and you dare to say the same thing about my mother's true nature. I won't say anything. Today, I won't argue until you refresh my third view. Tang Yin has already started preparing for matchmaking here. As a joke, as the people of Zhuan, he has never been discouraged from criticizing him. But just as Tang Yin was about to start, one hand had already patted Tang Yin's shoulder. Tang Yin turned his head and saw his elder brother shaking his head at him. If the old man doesn't listen, then he won't listen. I still need to give face to him. But Tang Yin really became more and more angry as he thought about this kind of thing, and taking a step back would make him lose more and more. Finally, Tang Yin took out a small notebook from somewhere and put it on the latest page to start writing. On January 31st, XXXX in the Douluo calendar, today the old man said that Mom, you are a trash yourself, and this vengeful son will help you remember first. Looking at the notebook that he had almost finished memorizing, Tang Yin's mood improved a lot. Mom, take a look at how Dad treats you. Now, my son will help you remember. After my son helps you resurrect in the future, you can watch and fight for yourself. Just kidding, is Tang Yin the one who is at a loss? Old man, please wait. I really can't beat you now. But when my mother comes back to life in the future, I will give her a notebook of memories from these years, so that you can experience what hell and social death are. But Tang Hao saw his youngest son who had started to take revenge on him again, but he was completely unaware of the seriousness of this matter. After all, he had already read 2 or 3 copies of Tang Yin's diary, and he was also lazy to manage it. Completely unaware of the terrifying consequences that come with it, Tang Yin also ignored the old man's disdain, because he knew that his plan would definitely succeed, which was not because he trusted the original work and his own brother so much. The true source of this confidence is his martial soul. Because in the just experiment, he discovered that his martial soul also has a passive skill that will not be displayed. That is to give Tang Yin a resurrection coin every 3 years. That's right, it's the resurrection coin that even if you're already GG, as long as you throw it, it will be another full of blood and blue heroes. Although if the resurrection coin is not taken out, it will not stack, but once it is taken out, it will continue. And this thing can also be given as a gift for others to use. When I go to see my mother in the future, I will directly fire a resurrection coin version of the super electromagnetic cannon at her body. Humph, then I will see what kind of capital your friend has to show off in front of us. How many floors can a bag of rice withstand? Moreover, Tang Yin still remembers that his future sister-in-law has also died once. If this happens again, he can also send a message to his sister-in-law, which can reduce a lot of tragedy. I remember in the original work, my own brother resurrected Xiaowu in the future. It seems that Xiaowu returned everything from her soul ring during her sacrifice, but the resurrection coin is no longer needed. It can directly resurrect Xiaowu in its full state, without the need for its own brother to return soul rings and bones. From this, it can be seen that he didn't use this cheat to pry into the coffins of their former world physics giants, and now he doesn't even let go of Douluo's coffins. It's simply a loss of heart, illness, and madness. Wait, if that's the case, why don't we discuss with our sister-in-law in the future and let her die first every 3 years so that they can have a stable source of soul rings and bones? Tang Yin and the others don't take advantage of Xiaowu either. She can absorb her own soul bones, and maybe because they are all her special adaptations, her combat power is higher. And the 2 brothers suffered a slight loss, so they first fixed the 10 soul rings of the Haotian hammer. The 2 brothers only had 20 soul rings, so if they seek stability, they can collectively pretend to go out of the waves in 60 years. Adding 200,000-year soul rings, he can still have 2 left after dividing the 3 of them. Anyway, my elder brother already has an external soul bone, so I decided to have my sister-in-law give each of them an external soul bone for the last 2 pieces. It's really beautiful. It's perfect. When the whole body has 100,000-year soul bones and is paired with a 100,000-year soul ring, isn't it just about hammering anyone who doesn't count? Just call me that year with both hands in my pockets, I don't know what an opponent is. Tang Yin's mind was getting more and more excited on this side, and he didn't even consider expressing such inappropriate thoughts. Would he be given a mixed doubles by his elder brother and sister-in-law at the same time, while dancing in the starry forest? My spine inexplicably felt a chill. Hurry up and tidy up here. Once you're done, come in and do something. Tang Hao, who was completely unaware of his danger, continued to say to the 2 brothers. Tang Yin, who had memorized the notebook, was also lazy in arguing with the old man. As he prepared to start tidying up the yard, he said, "Brother, please go and invite Master Qian to come and repair it." After all, these things were all made by oneself, and after playing all afternoon, there were quite a few. If he doesn't hurry up, 3rd brother will definitely snatch this kind of hard work first. Xiao Yin, let me come. You go find the money master. Sure enough, Tang San was about to reach out and take Tang Yin's tools, but was dodged by Tang Yin's ghostly shadow. Tang San wanted to continue chasing, but the ghostly shadow was not as powerful as Tang Yin's. "Oh, my dear brother, I'll leave it to you. Hurry up and hire Master Qian, isn't Dad still hungry?" Seeing that his own brother had no intention of giving up, Tang Yin immediately moved out of his own father. Tang Yin has already talked about this, what else can Tang Yin say? I can only drive Ghost Shadow and try to get it done as soon as possible so that I can come and help Tang Yin. Unfortunately, by the time Tang San returned, Tang Yin had already taken care of everything and was almost finishing the work. And with Tang San's help, this was cleaned up even faster. After finishing the backyard, the two brothers started cooking and originally wanted to save the money for repairing the wall to eat together, but they were unsuccessful. Tang Yin and his team did not demand anything in this regard. After paying the money, the family was once again seated at the dining table. The atmosphere at the dining table remained eerie as usual, and every time it was this time, Tang San was desperate. But just as Tang San was in despair, Tang Hao suddenly spoke up. I won't let you become soul masters, will you be very disappointed with me? Tang Hao's voice was a bit low. Era's new work requires everyone's support. Era is rolling on the ground, seeking big recommendation tickets from everyone. The new book really needs everyone's love and care. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Revenge of Tang, Seeking Tickets, Seeking Collection. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. Revenge of Tang, Seeking Tickets, Seeking Collection. Father is fine, in fact, I think even being a blacksmith is still good. And a few days ago, you promised to teach us the skills of making iron. I believe that as long as we practice this skill well, it won't be a problem for us to support ourselves. Tang San said. Upon hearing Tang San's words, Tang Hao then turned his gaze to this son. But there was an indelible sense of desolation in his tone as he said, Soul Master. What can a soul master do? What is the use of a soul master? Even if he has the highest level of martial soul, what can he do? Even if he becomes the strongest soul master, he is still just a waste in the end. Only one top-level martial soul person has indeed been weakly exposed, Tang Yin expressed support. After all, he is fearless with two top-level martial souls. What, you said Tang San's blue-silver grass is also a useless martial soul. Just kidding, my brother is the blue-silver emperor, okay. Anyway, after that, it will be a wake-up call. Tang Hao. I feel like you're talking about me. At that time, I had no evidence. Xiao Yin. Tang San felt a bit helpless, feeling that the atmosphere that his old man had finally created was completely destroyed by his own brother's one sentence, so, what you're saying has nothing to do with us. We have two martial souls, right, bro? Tang Yin said indifferently. What? You have two martial souls. Tang Hao was surprised this time. Seeing his father's surprised and questioning gaze, Tang San did not conceal it. After all, he himself wanted to ask about his hammer martial soul. Directly release your second martial soul. A black small hammer appeared in Tang San's hand like this. This is. And as soon as Tang San saw the hammer in his hand, Tang Hao took a swift step towards Tang San. He directly grabbed Tang San's hand holding the Haotian hammer. And was held by Tang Hao's powerful hand. The originally heavy Haotian hammer instantly reduced its load. But none of these were what Tang San cared about. What he felt most clearly was the warmth connected from his bloodline. Father, what's wrong with my martial soul? Tang San asked. But Tang Hao did not directly answer, but said excitedly, twin martial souls, since my son is a twin martial soul. Tang Yin. It's not an old man, it's not a twin martial soul, isn't it your son? Tang Yin said unhappily. However, Tang Yin suddenly felt that his father's words didn't seem wrong. After all, since his older brother's generation, children have started with twin martial souls. So the old man's words are not wrong, after all, isn't he also a twin martial soul? Wait, so my old man is still a prophet. TSK, adding an excuse from the old man Dao in daily life. Tang Hao's spine inexplicably cooled down here. When he heard his youngest son's words and wanted to say something more, he saw a Haotian hammer also appearing in Tang Yin's hand. Of course, Tang Yin himself has also been able to catch the Haotian hammer. After all, as a long-range shooter, no one has any idea of close combat. After all, Lu Sun once said that a skilled marksman who cannot engage in close combat is not a good navigator. This time, Tang Hao became even more excited. He didn't expect that since his two children were both twin martial souls. "Alright, old man, first put down your brother's hand. Don't you know that this hammer consumes a lot of soul power? We've been experimenting all afternoon, it's so hungry," Tang Yin said. "Oh, let's eat first." Tang Hao's spirit is clearly much better now than before. And seeing their father finally perk up, the two brothers were also quite happy, to the extent that this meal became a rare and enjoyable meal for them. After finishing his meal, Tang Yin returned to the yard. Summon the blue-silver gun once again to make contact. To be honest, Tang Yin is still a bit worried about going through the experiences of his own father and brother in the original work. How did that say? The best way to eliminate fear is to face it. So Tang Yin still wants to become stronger, and now with cheats, he has such capital. This gives him more direction and motivation to work hard. Not to mention anything else, just this cheating on the coffins of major physics experts and Douluo world has given Tang Yin great confidence. After all, in the eyes of their adventurers, as long as there is a blood bar, God will kill you. At night, the sky is filled with stars. Tang Yin lay leisurely on his own roof. To be honest, he was quite happy to have such a happy meal with Tang Hao. Tang Yin has always felt that he is a very lucky person. Although he was tricked by his father in his previous life, he is indeed very happy. When I first arrived in this world, I really missed my family from my past life. Fortunately, he was not the only child in his past life, so there was no need to worry too much about the two elders, let alone his older brothers and sisters. He had always worried about them himself since childhood. And when Tang Yin began to accept the new life of this life, Tang Hao was just like before. Even if he knew the reason, Tang Yin remained somewhat displeased. And now seeing my father's heart not loosen, how could he be in a bad mood? After all, father and son have no overnight grudges. In the midst of his thoughts dancing, Tang Yin instinctively summoned two martial souls. It must be said that the Haotian hammer really consumes soul power, especially when summoned together, the difference becomes even more apparent. This martial soul configuration is also good, after all, that marksman doesn't have a heart for close combat yet. Tang Yin thought. "Xiao Yin, are you okay?" Tang Yin's thoughts had just pulled back when Tang San's voice came from behind. "Oh, it's okay, it's like being idle and looking at one's own martial soul," Tang Yin said without rushing to retrieve his martial soul. "After all, this is home, a place where one never needs to hide oneself. That's good, the way you trained just now really scared me. Suddenly, you trained so fiercely." Tang San pointed to the courtyard that had turned into ruins. It's nothing, I just wanted to familiarize myself with all the attributes and characteristics of blue-silver firearms earlier, and I also wanted to try this hammer myself, but it cost too much to practice." Tang Yin said somewhat depressed. "And it's different from the blue-silver firearm, I haven't received any information about it," Tang Yin said, pretending to be cute. "Speaking of this, I originally wanted to ask my father during dinner today, but the atmosphere was too good and I forgot." Tang San sat next to Tang Yin and smiled. He also had a very happy meal today. Especially seeing Tang Yin's relationship with his father ease. But this is Tang San's fault. After all, Tang Hao is the real father of Tang Yin in this lifetime. How could he really dislike it? Of course, whether you dislike it or not, you still have to seek revenge. His revenge on Tang's reputation is not nonsense. To be honest, Tang Yin was just heartbroken by Tang Hao's self-degradation. End of this chapter.